Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I am coming to you live from Florida. And if you're new to my content, I am on a mission to help women that are on a healing journey with a proven system to restore cellular health, release trauma, and reset the nervous system. Today is Monday, and so it's book club day. Book club is free, and it's a chance for all of us as a community to just come together that are working on ourselves, okay? I do a lot of books around spiritual development. I believe that personal development is key, but there's another level to life that I think a lot of the personal development mentors are missing, and that is to go beyond the mind. And so right now we're reading The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. If you're not familiar with him, incredible work. He runs the Temple of the Universe down here in Florida, not far from where I live actually. And his books are like just practical, a lot of humor. They're going to help you find yourself and help you to really get this human journey right. And he talks a lot about the human predicament and how to live with no stress, how to allow yourself to find inner peace. And in book club every week, we really just chapter by chapter, right? We take it slow. These chapters are like 7 pages each, but good Lord, it takes a half hour to discuss them. So if you are joining me live for book club, let me know when you arrive. It's helpful for me to know that you're here. Hey, Marie. Oh, I'm glad Facebook is working for you now. Good to see you over there. So just let me know when you get here. We discussed chapter 4. If you want to get plugged in, we have a Telegram group. And the Telegram group is really just a place for us to put the weekly assignments, what we're doing in book club each and every week. And then I put in there today, did you guys see it? A friend of mine sent me this morning. It's this cool graphic that is talking about, hey, Angela. Oh, Angela's on Facebook today, not Instagram. All right. It's a really cool graphic that is really talking about the spiritual journey and the way that this is described, like how to not try to control the external world, but control the internal world, and to learn how to have that inner peace and to deal with stress. And just really a very, very cool graphic. Did you guys see it? Put a 1 in the chat if you did. If not, when we end this, go to Telegram and check it out. It's pretty cool. I've never seen it kind of laid out so thoughtfully. And I'm like, yep, yep. And those of you in Inner Management Mastery, same stuff I teach you there. So it's put in there beautifully. I'll have to add it to the current students to their chat. But so we read chapter 4, and chapter 4 was called The Lucid Self. And I got to ask you here. So put a 1 in the chat if you have ever had a lucid dream, meaning like you knew you were dreaming. So in the dream, maybe you were flying, right? And you were like, oh my gosh, I know I'm flying. I'm going to fly over here. I'm going to go over here. You're like, oh, I know this is the dream. I'm going to go over. I'm going to intentionally go do this. Has anyone ever done that? Put a 1 in the chat if so. It's happened to me a couple of times. I know a lot of times it'll happen for me like at the beginning or end of a night. Charlotte, it's happened for you, where like I'll know that I'm dreaming before I wake up. That's where I've experienced it. Sometimes I'm in a dream and I think it's real life, and then I realize it's a dream, right? That's happened to me before too. Marie's experienced this as well. Okay. So how many of you, okay, put a 2 in the chat. I'm sure this is the rest of you. Put a 2 in the chat if you've had a dream that you were so fully immersed, like that you didn't know you were dreaming. Maybe even you woke up sweating, or you woke up screaming, or you woke up scared, or you woke up angry. I have had a recurring dream with someone. Okay, 2 is over here. All right. I've had a recurring dream with the same person. And it's so, I wake up frustrated. Like, what in the world? Like, why does this person keep visiting me in my dreams? And I don't know that I'm dreaming, right? I'm so in this and I'm getting frustrated in the situation. And then it's like, oh, I wake up and that frustrated feeling is still there. Okay. So a lot of you have had this experience where you're just like totally in it. What if you dreamt before and knew what was going to happen? That's different, Karen. That's a different level of awareness. So yeah, good question. Karen's saying like, okay, well, before I've known what was going to happen before it happened in my dreams. You might have been aware. You might have been lucid then. You might have known you were dreaming because you knew, oh, next this will happen. Next that'll happen. It's interesting to kind of reflect on this in the dream state. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been taken over so fully by thought, so fully by an emotion that you just like lose your sense of self in the waking state? So many of you, hey Doug, good to see you. We'll just keep the numbers. Put a 3 in the chat, because otherwise I'm going to get confused. Put a 3 in the chat. So many of you said number 2 for like dreaming. In the dream state, you've been totally taken in by a dream. In the waking state, put a 3 in the chat if you've ever been totally taken by the waking state. Just totally absorbed by a thought that came through, an emotion that came through, something that was passing in awareness. So much so that you're like over here doing something, you're like, how did I even get there? It happens to me. Most of the time, like an intense, like sometimes anger will come over and I'm like, what? It doesn't happen often. It takes a lot to get me angry. But so I'm like, where'd that come from? You know? And it just goes. Okay, many of you have had this. All right. Let me ask you this. Have you ever, in the waking state, been aware of an emotion but not engaged in it? Or been aware of a thought, but you let it pass by rather than grabbing it and kind of trying it on? Put a 4 in the chat. We're just going up through the numbers today. So put a 4. I'll say it again. Have you ever been aware of an emotion but not allowed it to take control of you? You've just gone, oh, interesting. Jealousy is here. Huh. Moving on. All right. Or, oh, interesting. I'm thinking about that thing from my past again. Huh. Moving on. Have you been able to do that ever? Not as many comments. Okay, now they're coming in. There might be a slight delay or something. All right, so, okay, now it's flooding in over here. All right, there's like 14 of you. So yeah, lots of 4s coming in. So Rhonda says she's learning now. Yeah, I know. It's powerful. And this is, Rhonda, you're in a good place again. This is what this chapter was all about. And I freaking loved the example that he used and the analogy that he used. I've never heard an analogy so good that we can all relate to because we've all been there. So let's get into it. He says, I love that, like, Mickey asks questions that I don't know about you, but I've never sat and pondered these things. He says, this raises some very interesting questions. If you are the indwelling being who is experiencing all of this, then why do these different levels of perception exist? Meaning, why sometimes does an emotion just take you over, and why other times can you observe the emotion and let it pass by? Why? Why is it that there's 2 different ways? That's what he's asking. When you're seated in the awareness of self, you are lucid. Where are you then if you are not seated deeply enough inside of the self to be the conscious experiencer of all you are experiencing? So he's saying, where'd you go when you got so pulled into the emotion that you forgot your sense of self? You forgot that you were the one witnessing the emotion. When you got so drawn into it, where did you actually go? Where did consciousness go? That's what he's asking. I don't think that I've ever asked that question before. But intuitively, right, well, I got pulled into the world. I got pulled into this world of form. I got pulled into this BS, that my head told me to go listen to. He says consciousness has the ability to become more aware of one thing and less aware of something else. And in other words, it has the ability to focus in on certain objects. We all know that, right? In school, no one had to teach us. When the teacher said, focus over here, listen to my words, we know how to do it, right? Or if someone says, hey, listen to me, you're listening, right? All of a sudden, boop, like your consciousness knows. It knows to do that. That's just kind of intuitive. Nobody had to teach you that. But this is something that nobody really talks about, right? So he says, fortunately, the nature of consciousness has been studied very closely, though, in deep teachings like yoga. We don't study this in elementary school, middle school, high school. No one's talking about consciousness. No one's explaining to you what's in there. Who's the one witnessing all the things that are happening in your world? Nobody talks about it. This is where yogic philosophy comes in. This is what I've been studying for 8 years. This is what I teach in Inner Management Mastery. Because this explains the human predicament so well and teaches you how to get out of it and how to get out of all the stress. So, who had this happen while you were reading? I love that he explained, the best way to learn about consciousness is through your direct experience with it. That's why I was asking you all those questions at the beginning. So we've all had experiences with consciousness in dream state, in the waking state. How many of you, put a 1 in the chat, when you were reading this chapter, all of a sudden you found your mind was somewhere else? Like you read a paragraph and you're like, I have no freaking clue what I just read. Does that happen to anybody else? Happens to me. I read every chapter twice because I'm like, I know I missed something the first time because I was thinking over in La La Land about what's Bodhi doing. I wonder if Coco's going to come home. Oh, what am I going to have for dinner? Like all of a sudden, nobody else? Okay, over here. Yes, Instagram's with me. Okay, now you guys are with me over here. Yeah, it happens, right? And you're like, oh, where did I go? Right? Consciousness decided to focus on something else. So he says the key here, outside objects or mental thoughts can catch your attention at any time, but it's still the same awareness, whether it is focused on the outside or on your thoughts. So he's saying, basically what he's kind of demonstrating with this, and what I was demonstrating with that ask, is that your awareness can get pulled into things in the external world and pulled into things in your internal world, where all of a sudden, ding, like you're daydreaming. Okay. Yeah, Rhonda says she's even listening to the audiobook and has to rewind this one often. Yeah, because the mind, just like your internal world is noisy, and your inner roommate, as Mickey Singer calls it, just takes you over here and then it takes you over there. And then you're like, freaking stop. I'm trying to pay attention to this to make you go away, right? It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. So consciousness has the ability to selectively focus awareness on specific objects, right? And when you are not centered, you get lost. And when you're not centered, meaning when you're not fully present, when you're not seated in awareness, you will get lost in emotions, in thoughts, in the physical world. You're going to get lost in that stuff. It's just going to pull you. It's going to pull you. It's going to pull you. And you're going to find that you're on a freaking roller coaster going here and going there. And like, it's no wonder everyone has ADHD, right? They're not taught how to sit in the seat of awareness. They don't know how to do it. So they're going bing, 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 bing. Like, it's just crazy in our society. Just absolutely crazy. So what do? I don't know. Maybe, have any of you, I just watched, I think I told you guys this. I watched a 6-hour podcast. It seems weird to say I watched it, but Lex Friedman, right? It's podcast, but he also has like a YouTube of him doing the interview. Have any of you ever been so just immersed into a movie or a show that you like totally lose track of time? This has not happened to me in a very long time because I'm typically like super present. I got sucked into this conversation. One of the most fascinating conversations. It was a guy, he's a con man, been in prison, out of prison now. He was on the FBI's like most wanted list. Like, I'm sorry, but you're going to go lose 6 hours of your life if you go watch this thing because you just get pulled right in. You're like, this man committed so much crazy fraud and this, and you're like watching this and you're like, this sounds like a movie and it's like real. And this guy is just like so candidly saying like, yeah, I was a jerk. Yeah, I did this and I did this and I did this and I used that person and blah, 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 blah. And I got sucked in. Some of you are like, not 6 hours, Danielle. Never lost 6 hours. It was just like, I couldn't believe the time passed. You know, we got about 3 hours in and I was like, this is kind of like long. What happened? I thought it was an hour in and I was like, well, I'm committed at this point. I need to know what's going to happen. That's why I don't watch TV very much. I don't like how it absorbs you. But it's a good example, right? It's a good example for what Mickey then sets up here. So he says, look, when you're watching TV, we sit and we get absorbed with the screen, right? Our mind, emotions, the outside world kind of go away. We get absorbed with what's in front of us. And this is important, all right? Because most of us are absorbed in our inner world, right? Most of us are absorbed with our thoughts, with our emotions, right? You probably know the anxious thoughts that come up. You probably know the angry thoughts that come up, the sad thoughts that come up, the depressed, all of the emotions, the things, the stories that you're constantly retelling yourself and going over. Like, we're so engaged in our personal TV show. That's what he's wanting you to see. He's wanting you to say, okay, you understand that you can get lost in actual TV, right? Or podcast in my case. But most human beings, most of them, majority of them, are living in their own personal TV show. And they're living in their own hell most of the time because their own personal TV show is stressing them out. The mind is saying to do this. This shouldn't happen. It should be this way. That wasn't fair. You got to fix this. Now tomorrow you'll do that. And you forgot to call that person. And what are they going to think of you? And like, you're so absorbed in your own TV show. High five me if you're with me. Like, put a 5 in the chat. Does this make sense? Do you understand? Is this analogy like, ooh, yeah, he kind of got me. Yeah, I'm definitely in there. He says there's just so much interesting stuff in our own minds that we just like drown in it. All right. And if you lose yourself, okay, so we're seeing high fives. Yeah. Marie says, okay, but don't you think by watching emotional TV shows that you pick up on and then it transfers to yourself? Yes, we're going to talk about that actually, Marie. Absolutely. Yeah, Gail's got a real high five. Yes. Okay. So you're with me here. So he says, the next time you find yourself lost in your own TV show, just say hello. And I love this. He says, just say hello. Hello, hello, hello. Internally. Do it now. And then just be aware of the one that is listening. Who is aware of the hello? That's where you want to go back to. That's the seat of awareness. That's what it's all about. All right. So, the next thing he talks about is a movie. What was the last movie you all saw? Just put it in the chat. I'm curious. Whether it was a movie out in a theater. The last movie I watched in a theater was Sound of Freedom. What was the last movie you watched? Curious. Whether it be Netflix, Amazon Prime, out in theaters. What movies is everybody seeing? You're like, I don't remember the name of it, Danielle. But I'm curious to know what movie it was. Or if you saw Sound of Freedom, you can put that in there too. That was definitely the last time I was out in theater. And if you go to a movie, this is what's so incredible. When you go to a movie, okay, now movies are coming in. Sorry, there is a delay. So I move on and then I can't. A movie called Found, Oppenheimer. Rhonda, I keep hearing about that. Well, it was mentioned. Lex Friedman. I was driving yesterday and I was listening to a podcast that he did with Jeff Bezos of Amazon, and Jeff was talking about Oppenheimer. Sound of Freedom, nice, Doug, me too. Chariots of Fire, Oppenheimer was the last one. Yeah, everyone's talking about that one. Okay. Whoops. Oh my God, what happened? I lost everybody. Okay, we're back. So in a movie theater, the sound is synchronized with what you're seeing. Okay, so Titanic, Juliet. Wow, that's a throwback. Nice. So the sound, I'm now thinking about the sound in Titanic. That's hilarious because, what is this song? Every night in my dreams. I can't sing, but you know what I mean. So the sound is so well done with a movie that it pulls you in. And even I haven't seen Titanic in a decade. And there it is. All right. It gets you so pulled in because you're absorbed when sound and sight are absorbed. It absorbs you when they're synchronized. Okay. The Barbie movie. I saw that too. Rhonda, I saw that too. All right. And he says you get so absorbed that you don't even realize like you're sitting in a cold theater next to strangers because you're so absorbed with what's happening on the screen. Like you're in Barbie land, right? Like you're just there. You're on the Titanic. You're crying, right? It's all just absorbed. And he says, what if in a movie you could also smell and taste the movie? Can you imagine, like on the Titanic, right, when they're dining, that you get to taste the same things that they're tasting, smell the same things they're smelling? How wild would that be? All right, you'd get totally caught up in it, you know? And then he says, what if touch was involved? And there's actually, have you guys ever been, I want to say, like most amusement parks have this. I feel like Disney for sure has it. But you go and you like watch something and you're like, it's definitely more than just seeing and hearing. Like, you know, you're like in a chair that like moves, you know, and you're like going through, like that's why people love, you know, entertainment, roller coasters, this sort of stuff. But has anyone done that? You know what I'm talking about? I don't know what they're called, but it gets more of your senses involved and things actually touch you. Like I remember one, I think there was like a mouse that got loose or something, and then they had like this tail thing flick your ankle, right? And so everybody screams because they're like, oh my God, there's a mouse at my foot. 40 Adventures Park. Mom knows because mom took me. Yeah, a simulator. Okay. That's what Mickey's talking about. He's like, if all 5 of your senses get sucked in, like you're done for. You are totally engaged, right? You are going to lose your sense of self. It's just, you're there. Okay. Yeah. All right, you guys know what I'm talking about. He says, but even that, maybe you could go into a 4D adventure park, and perhaps you would still be bored. Like maybe there's some pissy teenager that could go in there and they're still, whatever, all absorbed with their emotions and their thoughts. And so, they're not pulled in. It could happen. Haunted houses, yes. Haunted houses pull in some people. I love that, Rhonda, exactly. But some people can walk through and they're like, oh, whatever. This guy's going to come at me with a chainsaw, but he's not real. He can't actually get me. Like some people are still in their thoughts. They're not fully absorbed. So he says, what if there could be a movie where all 5 senses, see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and your emotions and your thoughts are whatever is happening on the screen. So you feel what the person's feeling. Not from the point of view, like Marie said, well, sometimes movies make me sad, but you're watching the movie. This is, you're so absorbed when you're watching that you can't help but cry when the character cries because you are the character. All right? If everything got absorbed, you would lose you. It would be impossible not to lose you. That's what he was working up this entire analogy to explain to you. When the senses get involved, and then when your thoughts and emotions get involved, it's like game over, we're done, right? He says, once the movie gets control of your thoughts, it's over. There is no more you there to say, I don't like the movie. I want to leave. You can't say that because you're thinking like James Bond thoughts now. You can't think anything else because you are the character. You've moved into that space. He says that would require an independent thought, but your thoughts have been taken over by the movie, and now you're completely lost. So how the heck do you ever get out? And he says, guess what? It sounds scary, but that's your current predicament. That's literally the situation I'm in, you're in, all of us are in. All right, the 25 of us on here right now. We're all in the same predicament. And this is what he wanted to point out. It's like an actor going to act in a movie, right? Leonardo DiCaprio and whatever, name that movie. He's been in a million. It's like him going in and acting and then forgetting that he's Leonardo DiCaprio. And he lives the rest of his life as that character. Not realizing, hang on, I made the choice to come in here. And that's what Mickey is getting to. You need to realize, because all of the objects you're aware of are synchronized, you get stuck and you're no longer aware of the separateness of the object. You're not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. You're not anything you're hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching. You're the one witnessing it all. All right? Marie says it'd be cool if it was a good movie. Well, how's your life? Because that's the situation. You're currently in a simulation, okay? Lady Gaga mentioned after doing House of Gucci that she needed a therapist on set. Yeah, actors, I'm sure this happens to them. They get so into their roles. They get absorbed with it. But guys, all of us have gotten absorbed. We have forgotten. You're not Rhonda. You're not Marie. You are a spirit having a human experience. You are a soul, an Atman, whatever word that, that's it. That essence is you, not this avatar of Danielle, I put in for whatever, brown hair and the way I look, but like, that's not me. That's not me. He says, consciousness, which is capable of being aware of anything, makes the mistake of focusing on that one spot too closely. When the consciousness gets sucked in, it no longer knows itself as itself. It knows itself as the objects it's experiencing. This is something I talk a lot about in inner management mastery. Yogis call it the kleshas. So this is like the first thing is we forget. We forget that we are a divine being that came here to experience. So, they say, I love the analogy of an ocean and a wave, right? The ocean, to experience itself, right, must go out as a wave, go into this world of form, get distracted and lost by the world of form, and then realize, oh, I'm not any of these things. I'm just the ocean. But it can't experience. It needs a body to know what chocolate tastes like. It needs a body, to be able to know what it's like to be happy, what it's like to be sad. It doesn't know that. Jim Carrey for sure speaks to this. Jim Carrey is very awake and aware. Incredibly so. He's amazing. Lots of wisdom because he knows. Jim Carrey went into the world of form looking for the answers and realized it's not here. It's not here. He's been to every level of success and he went, there is something more within me that is more exciting to explore than anything out there. And he learned it. Yeah, he absolutely did, Nancy. So, I love this. On page 36, he talked about, well, I'll be James Bond, and acting like, I love that Mickey puts this in such like a practical, like almost silly way, like humorous way. Well, I'm going to choose to be James Bond. Boom, poof, you're James Bond. All right, and you don't have any awareness that you were ever anything else. But then when James Bond dies, all of a sudden, you're 35-year-old Danielle again. In this case, your soul. All right? Just amazing. I don't know if you've ever heard this. Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard this. About souls choosing their family. So a soul choosing which family it gets born into. Because of the lessons it wants to learn, either to help the parents or themselves on their journey to learn certain lessons. Super fascinating when you think about that. Yeah, some of you have. Putting 1s in chat. It's powerful. Soul contracts. That's what people talk about. So getting outside of Mickey's stuff, but this is big stuff. Okay? This is big stuff. And he goes on to say, when your consciousness is not centered within, it becomes totally focused on the objects of consciousness. When you are a centered being, however, your consciousness is always aware of being conscious. Gail says, wow, yeah, you've told me that. Yes, Rhonda, I did. I truly believe it. Every part of me does. There's enough evidence in my own world that I believe that. And how powerful. Even if you don't want to believe it, just what if? What if you put that lens onto life? How would that make your experience with your family, Doug, Gail, Lou, different? Angela, right? Just the names that I'm seeing here. How would it make it different if you thought, oh, I chose that? You're not a victim. You went in knowingly into this life. You've just forgotten. You chose James Bond. You're being James Bond. You forgot you chose it. Okay, so all the ups and the downs feel like hell. But really, they were what you were wanting to learn. They were the lessons you wanted to learn. And your family was creating the right environment to force you inside of yourself to learn the lesson. You get it? Liberating. If you can understand, rewind, listen to that again. That's everything right there. That is everything. Secret to life. Now, if you start to forget that and you're getting, sucked into the ups and the downs and everything that's going on in your world, let me ask you this. When was the last time you meditated, right? All of you inner management mastery people, you have a yoga nidra specifically designed for you. If you're getting stressed out, I bet you didn't do your yoga nidra, right? Because when you do that, it's my favorite tool because it takes you beyond the mind. It takes you into the seat of witness and you feel it. You can't unknow it. It's not me just telling you. You viscerally feel it. And the more and more you go back there, the more and more you're able to keep the mind and the emotions and all this stuff. It's just, oh, look, that's what's here. All right? Angela says, excited to see who chooses to be my grandchild. Yes. Gail says, so glad this is recorded. I need to replay and replay. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, we're getting close to the end. We got 2 minutes left. Let's see what else we got here. Some other stuff. When you contemplate the nature of the self, you're meditating. It is the return to the root of your being, the simple awareness of being aware. That's where you go in Yoga Nidra. It's like you have been able, it's like you've been on the couch watching TV. It would be like if one of you came in and saw me like this with Lex Friedman and this con artist, like, whoa, and you went, Danielle, hello. And I went, oh, yeah, oh, right. I'm just sitting here. I'm at my house. Yeah, I'm just watching this. Right? That's all we're talking about. I'm just trying to shake you inside of you to make you realize you're not Gail. You're not Angela. You're the one witnessing all that's happening in Angela's world. All right? And you came here for a reason. And you're still connected to, that divine aspect of you. That's the most exciting part. Yeah. You realize that you're not who you thought you were. You're not even a human being. You just happen to be watching one. Right? You just happen to be watching one. I was reading or listening to Satguru, and he said something that I was like, whoa. He goes, you've actually never touched anything or tasted anything at all. Like, it's just your mind telling you an interpretation of what it feels like or looks like. But you're not doing it. It's all through this instrument of the human body, but it's not actually you. Anyway, this stuff makes you go, woo! So, welcome to book club. When you start to explore consciousness instead of form, you realize that your consciousness only appears to be small and limited because you are focusing on a small and limited object, namely your mind, the ego mind. You're way more than what your mind tells you. So back to that question, right? Who am I? Mickey Singer doesn't do therapy. He doesn't do one-on-one consultations. He doesn't do any of that. He says, what's the point? Because all I would sit in front of somebody and say is, well, who's the one that's sad? Who's the one that knows you're sad? Because he's just trying to get you back to, well, who am I? You're not any of this BS. You're stuck in your personal TV show. Back it up, right? You're more than that. So that was part one. Pretty good book. I'm glad we chose this one. We will move into part 2 next. So I think it's chapter 5. These chapters are short and sweet, but a lot to unpack, right? So these are all posted Facebook, Instagram, on my YouTube channel in a playlist. If you want to go back, if you haven't seen any of the prior chapters, you can go back and listen. Guys, share this, tag a friend. Make sure awareness of this is getting out there because this will set so many souls free. So many souls that are just suffering unnecessarily. Thank you for joining me. It's so much fun to spend time with you all. Check out Telegram. I put in Telegram that fun image and yeah, let me know what you think. So I will see you next week for chapter 5. And until then, have a wonderful week and keep witnessing, right? Keep witnessing. Bye, guys.